Om Dio Shanti, Antariksham Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Apa Shanti, Oshadhaya Shanti, Vanaspataya Shanti, Vishve Deva Shanti, Brahma Shanti, Sarvam Shanti, Shantireti Shanti, Sama Shantireti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, may there be peace in heaven, in the sky, on earth, in the water, in the plants, in the trees, in the gods, in Brahman. May there be peace in all. May that peace, real peace, be ours. Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is a hymn to Sri Ramakrishna called Breaker of This World's Chain, what we know as Khandana Bhava Bandhana, which we sing during Arati. It's a special hymn. It was composed by Vivekananda, who composed one other hymn to Sri Ramakrishna, Om Ring Ritang, and both times he was in an ecstatic state when he composed these two hymns. And what better commentary on the epithets of Sri Ramakrishna than those given by the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. So I would like to share with you their thoughts on each of these stanzas that come to us when we sing this song. On February 22nd, 1898, Swami Vivekananda arranged Sri Ramakrishna's birthday celebration at Nilambar Babu's house, adjacent to a parcel of land purchased the very next month in March as the site of the new headquarters of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission at Belur Math. Sri Ramakrishna's birthday was on February 22nd. It was a grand and special occasion on which more than 50 lay devotees, regardless of caste, were invested with the sacred thread and the Gayatri mantra, centralizing a central principle of the Ramakrishna order, an order that bestows spirituality to all, transcending caste law. And on this day, at the time of Arati, Swami Vivekananda's newly composed hymn to Sri Ramakrishna, Khandana Bhava Bandhana, was sung for the first time, a hymn which is now sung daily in the Ramakrishna ashramas and the Vedanta centers throughout the world. Vivekananda's his works reveal the essence of Sri Ramakrishna's life and message. Swami Shivananda said Sri Ramakrishna transmitted his spiritual ideas to those who are fit to assimilate them quickly and devote themselves to the welfare of mankind. The greatest of them was Swami Vivekananda. This we heard from the Master, and we ourselves felt it to be true. In fact, he said Swamiji was the greatest interpreter of the Master's life and commentator on the Master's deep and noble spiritual teachings. When Swami Sarvagatananda, disciple of Swami Akhandananda and former head of the Boston and Providence centers, visited my study in the Santa Barbara convent, where I was working on the complete works of Vivekananda, Volume 9, he stated emphatically, in his lectures, Vivekananda spoke to the world. In his letters, to his intimate disciples. In his songs and poetry, to his own self. Let us then receive the darshan of Sri Ramakrishna through this telling Arati hymn, Khandana Bhava Bandhana, composed by Vivekananda and beautifully translated by Christopher Isherwood and Swami Prabhavananda. And as I said, I will draw on the commentaries and reminiscences and observations of Sri Ramakrishna's direct disciples themselves. Breaker of this world's chain. Breaker of this world's chain, we adore thee, whom all men love. It begins. Whom all men love. Swami Ramakrishnananda stated, when the master spoke of Sita, he would become Sita altogether, so that there would be absolutely no difference between him and Sita. If Vaishnava devotees came to him at once, he would become like Lord Gauranga. He would act, speak, and look like him, so much so that the devotees would prostrate before him, saying, we see Lord Gauranga in you. Spotless, taking man's form. O purifier, thou art above the gunas three. Spotless. Swami Ramakrishnananda said, in Sri Ramakrishna, there was absolutely no ego left. He could not use the first pronoun, personal pronoun I. He would say instead, why do you not come here, meaning to himself? Mother will illumine you, he would say. Ramakrishnananda went on, in him the divine was fully manifested. He preached God, nothing but God, and his whole nature was God-like. We never knew what purity was. We never knew what perfection was, what God was, until we saw him. The song goes on. Thou art above the gunas three. Swami Turiyananda said in this respect, in one of the Puranas is written that the divine forms remain even after the universe is dissolved. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that there are places in the ocean where the ice never melts. It seems to me that in this state, one worships God in his eternal form after the realization of both his personal and impersonal aspects. Here, the ice does not melt because of the rays of the sun do not enter. We never knew of these things until we came to Sri Ramakrishna. The song continues. Knowledge divine, not flesh. Knowledge divine. Swami Premananda said, the master acted as if he were an ignorant person. How much of the sciences he knew. He knew the language of birds and how to read a person's nature and character from the shape of his body. And he also knew the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Puranas, and the Tantras. Almost everything was known to him as a person that knows an amalaki, fruit, held in the palm of the hand. He used to say, I can see the inside of a man by looking at his eyes and face, not flesh. Swami Shivananda said about his master, his hands were very tender, but why speak just of his hands? His entire body was so. For instance, a type of luchi, fried bread with a hard crust, once cut his finger. The song continues. Let us look deep in thine eyes. They are white, bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell. Let us look deep in thine eyes. Swami Vijnananda said, once the master told me, pointing to his own picture, look, I dwell in this picture. Meditate on me. Yes, I will, I told him. The Swami continued, all the forms of gods and goddesses are within Sri Ramakrishna's form. His photograph symbolizes the piercing of the 6 centers of the Kundalini. When I look at his luminous form, It seems to me that the Master is immersed in the blissful ocean of Satchidananda, transcending the 6 centers of the Kundalini. He continued, I see many wonderful things in the Master's picture. Sri Ramakrishna manifests himself to those who are pure in heart. The song continues. They are bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell. One night, Manmata, a young hoodlum, came to see Sri Ramakrishna at Kasipur, but was not allowed upstairs. Swami Ramakrishnananda explained, when the Master heard that Manmata was downstairs, he had him brought upstairs at once. I was in the Master's room at the time, but he sent me out, and the two were alone for a long while. Then the Master called me back and told me to bring one of his photographs. This he took, and with his own hand gave it to Manmata. That young man took it, and without speaking a word to anyone, ran out of the house, as if he were mad. From that moment, he lost all consciousness of the world, of everything, and day and night he sat repeating, Priyanat, Priyanat, beloved Lord, beloved Lord. Ramakrishnananda went on. Manmata never returned to the Master. But after the Master passed away, he used to come often to our mat at Bharanagore. He would go straight to the shrine, sit and meditate there for some time, then go away. Sometimes he would sing, and he had a beautiful, very beautiful voice. There was one song of which Sri Ramakrishna had been particularly fond, and Manmata would sing it again and again. In this way, would our Master transform a life. The song continues. Let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. Swami Premananda said, the Master would say, what is required is heart, intense hankering, sincere longing for God. When to a person life without God is unbearable, then alone God reveals himself to that soul. This is the essence of the Master's teaching. Lakshmi Devi said, what love the Master had for the devotees. Once Balaram Babu came to Dakshineshwar by boat with his wife and children. They visited with the Master for a while and left for Calcutta in the afternoon. Their boat pulled out into the river, and the Master stood there watching. In the meantime, a storm began to blow, and the sky quickly became dark with clouds. I noticed that the Master was quite worried. He started pacing back and forth like a restless boy. As he watched the progress of the violently rocking boat, gradually the boat disappeared from sight. The Master returned to his room lamenting, won't you hear my prayer? Mother, what will happen? Seeing the Master's state of mind, Yogin, Swami Yogananda, set out for Kolkata in the midst of the storm to get news of Balaram Basu, and was able to report to the Master that he and the family had arrived safely. Yogin said to Sri Ramakrishna, it is by your grace that they had no mishap on the river. The boat was rolling heavily in the storm and at one point almost overturned, but it somehow regained its balance. The Master was overjoyed to hear the news. Then he said to Yogin slowly, What did you say? By my grace? Don't repeat to anyone which you have said. Keep it in your mind. Remember, by the grace of the mother, they reached home safely. The song continues. O drunk with love, God drunken lover, in thee all paths of all yogas meet. O drunk with love, God drunken lover. Swami Sardananda said, an extraordinary tenderness, sweetness, and leonine strength were visible in every limb of the Master's body, and his face shone with a divine smile. One noticed in the Master's dancing, rhythmical and natural gestures and movements of the limbs. It seemed as if an overflow of grace, bliss, and sweetness surged from within, like a big fish happily swimming all over a vast, clear lake, sometimes slowly and sometimes fast. Swami Sardananda continued. It was as if the dance was a dynamic physical expression of the surge of the blissful ocean of Brahman, which the Master was experiencing within. As he danced in this way, sometimes he lost utter consciousness. The song continues. In thee all paths of all yogas meet. Swami Shivananda said, as time passes, we understand why the Master practiced various forms of spiritual discipline. He did not practice different religions only to discover and realize the harmony of religions. His spiritual practice had a deeper meaning. That is why men belonging to different sects of Hinduism have made him their ideal. He is also the ideal of many Christians. They worship him as Jesus. And it must be remembered that this is not the result of someone's preaching. Tell me, who can preach Sri Ramakrishna? The song continues. Lord of the worlds, thou art ours, who wert born a child of our time, easy of access to us. Lord of the worlds, thou art ours. Lakshmi Devi said, the Master was lying on his bed in Samadhi when he was brought back to consciousness. He smiled and said, I was in the land of the white people. Their skin is white, their hearts are white, and they are simple and sincere. It is a very beautiful country. I think I shall go there. Easy of access to us. Swami Bhutananda one day said, one day Girish Ghosh saluted the Master by raising his folded hands to his forehead. The Master immediately returned the salutation by bowing down at the waist. Girish saluted the Master again. The Master saluted Girish Babu with an even deeper bow. At last, when Girish Babu prostrated flat on the ground before him, the Master blessed him. Later, Girish Babu would say, this time the Lord has come to conquer the world through prostrations. In his incarnations as Krishna, it was the flute. As Chaitanya, the name. But the weapon of this powerful incarnation this time is the salutation. The Master used to say, learn to be humble. The ego will be thus removed. The song continues. O merciful, if we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone, since all thine austerities are practiced for our sake. O merciful, if we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone. Swami Turiyananda said at one time, once a gentleman came to Sri Ramakrishna. He was a scholar, an MA, and was very frank, but he had an agnostic turn of mind. He confessed that he had great mental unrest, but he would not pray to God because, as he said, there was no proof of his existence. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, well, I suppose you have no objection to praying like this. If thou really art, then listen to my prayer. If you pray like this, it will do you good. The gentleman thought it over and then said he had no objection to that sort of prayer. Sri Ramakrishna asked him to follow his advice and come to him again. Some time later, the gentleman returned, and he was a changed man. Touching the master's feet, he wept as he said, you have saved me. The song continues. All then austerities were practiced for our sake. Swami Ramakrishnananda said, sometimes a man would come from a distant place with his heart panting for God. But seeing the room full of people, he would shrink back and hide himself in a dim corner. Without a word, Sri Ramakrishna would walk to him and touch him. And in a moment, he was illumined. Ramakrishnananda explained that by that touch, Sri Ramakrishna really swallowed 99% of the man's karma. Taking others' karma was the reason he had his long last illness. He used to tell us, the people whose karma I have taken think that they are attaining salvation through their own strength. They do not understand that it is because I have taken their karmas on me. The song continues. How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our Iron Age, to unchain us and set us free. How great was thy sacrifice. Swami Turiyananda explained, a householder devotee once had a wonderful experience. He had freely drunk and was very excited. Stopping his carriage before a house of ill repute, he went upstairs. But at the top of the staircase, he found Sri Ramakrishna standing in front of the door. He fled in shame. Unless God saves us, there is no way out. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, if you are sincere, Mother will set everything right to unchain us and set us free. Ramlal Chattopadhyay explains, a young Ramite monk in Ayodhya had a vision that God had again incarnated on earth somewhere in the east. In order to see him, the monk started on foot eastward from Ayodhya. When he reached Bengal, he heard that there was a great saint named Sri Ramakrishna near Kolkata. He finally found Dakshineshwar after a long search and asked someone, where is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa? The people of the Kali temple told him that the master had just passed away a few days before. Hearing this heartbreaking news, the monk exclaimed, what? He passed away? I have come from Ayodhya on foot just to see him. I went through so much hardship to get here, and he has left the body. The young monk began to sob. He went to the Panchavati and stayed there for 2 or 3 days without eating. One night, Sri Ramakrishna appeared before him and said, "You have not eaten anything for several days. I have brought this pudding for you. Please eat it." He fed the monk and disappeared. The next morning, I went to the Panchavati and found the monk full of joy. I asked, "What happened? You were so unhappy yesterday. Why are you so cheerful today?" Then he told me everything. He even showed me the earthen bowl in which Sri Ramakrishna had brought the pudding. The song continues. Perfect, whom lust could not taint, nor passion nor gold draw near. O Master of all who renounce, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Perfect, whom lust could not taint, nor passion nor gold draw near. Swami Turiyananda said at one time, when a Marwari devotee, Lakshmi Narayan, offered Sri Ramakrishna 10,000 rupees, the master fell unconscious. Regaining consciousness, he told the devotee to get away from him. When Lakshmi Narayan suggested giving the money to Hridoy for the master's use, the master explained, "Oh no, he will accept it in my name, and I can't bear the thought of possessing money." The devotee then said, "Ah, I see. You have not yet overcome the idea of acceptance and rejection." The master simply replied, "No, I haven't." The song continues. O Master of all who renounce, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Swami Vijnananda at one time said, once when Hari Prasanna, the future Swami Vijnananda, was in Sri Ramakrishna's room, the master stated in a serious mood, "In my incarnation as Krishna, I played with the shepherd boys and girls of Vrindavan." Sri Ramakrishna understood the future Vijnananda's doubts. So many cowherd girls beholding the same Krishna as their beloved. And so he began to talk of the deep love the gopis had for Sri Krishna. The master said, the gopis' love was pure, divine love. They were so intoxicated with love that whenever they heard the sound of Krishna's flute, they would rush to him, leaving their home, husband, and children. Krishna was a shepherd boy who did not have any wealth. Still, the gopis loved him dearly. They surrendered their bodies, minds, souls, and everything to their beloved Krishna. It is said in the Bhagavatam that Krishna played the Ras Lila, the divine sport with the gopis, on a full moon night in autumn. At that time, his entire energy went to the Sahasrara, the seventh chakra in the crown of the head, where one experiences the non-dual state. And he was immersed in deep samadhi in the realm of light and bliss. And the gopis also had that same experience. While talking about this divine attraction, the master suddenly became speechless and lost all outward consciousness. The master created a palpable atmosphere of divine love in the orbit of his power, as Sri Krishna had done in Vrindavan. Since I happened to be inside that orbit, my veil of ignorance about the Ras Lila disappeared. For the first time, I realized the true significance of Krishna's play with the gopis. When the master returned to the normal plane of consciousness, he smiled sweetly. I kept silent. The song continues. Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God. refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. Swami Shivananda said, during my second or third visit, I was serving Sri Ramakrishna when he suddenly touched my chest in an ecstatic mood. That touch made me lose outer consciousness and sent me into a deep meditative state. I do not know how long I remained in that state. As a result, everything became revealed to me. I realized that I was the Atman, eternal and free. I realized that the Master was the Lord, born as man for the good of humanity, and that I was on earth to serve him. The song continues. Without question thou shelterest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills the hoofprint in the clay. Swami Sardananda explained, to those who weren't encumbered with life's heavy responsibilities, who were caught in the net of samsara and had become old, his advice was, I have cooked the food and placed it on the plate. Your task is simply to sit and eat. You will not have to do anything. You are merely to lift it up to your mouth and enjoy. I have taken the responsibility. You will not have to do any spiritual disciplines. I have already done them for you. It will be enough if you give me the power of attorney and be at ease. He knew that conditions were not favorable for them to do spiritual practice. And if asked, it would not be in their power to follow his instructions. Therefore, he would advise them to rely on him and take refuge in the Lord. The song continues. Speech cannot hold thee, nor mind. Yet without thee, we think not, nor speak. Love, who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight. Speech cannot hold thee, nor mind. Yet without thee, we think not, nor speak. Swami Vijnananda said, once during my college days, when I went to visit the Master at Dakshineshwar, I asked him, is God with form or without form? The Master replied, God is with form as well as without form. And again, he is beyond both form and formlessness. Then I asked, if God is all, is this cot also God? He answered emphatically, yes, this cot, this glass, this utensil, this wall, everything is God. As he spoke, I experienced an inner transformation and was lifted beyond ordinary consciousness. My heart was illumined, and I saw the light of Brahman everywhere. Love, who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight. Swami Shivananda explained, Sri Ramakrishna had the power to transmit spirituality to others and lift them to higher states of consciousness. This he could do either by thought, look, or touch. Like Swami Vivekananda, many of us used to visit the Master, and we had the good fortune to be lifted to higher planes of consciousness according to our capacities. I myself was privileged to attain that higher state of consciousness, samadhi, thrice by his touch and wish during his lifetime. The Swami continued. Naturally, it was not always possible for one like Sri Ramakrishna who was constantly in a high state, a high spiritual state, to relieve the earthly sufferings of the poor. He therefore transmitted his spiritual ideas under divine guidance to those who were fit to assimilate them and devote themselves to the welfare of mankind. The greatest of them was Swami Vivekananda. This we heard from the Master. Therefore, he continued, as we study the life of the Swami, we find that on the one hand, he preached the wonderful message of religious harmony, and on the other, he preached the universal creed of service, that is, giving secular and spiritual knowledge, food, medicine, and so forth to the needy, so that with all their wants met, he may eventually be led to the spiritual realm. The song continues. Taker away of our pain, we salute thee, though we are blind. Come to the heart's black cave and illumine, thou light of the light. Taker away of our pain, we salute thee, though we are blind. Swami Shivananda said, Sri Ramakrishna was not satisfied with mere verbal expressions of sympathy and love for the afflicted. The Master was going on a pilgrimage with Mathur Babu and others. In those days, the Master lived almost constantly in a high spiritual state. When they arrived at Deogar, Sri Ramakrishna found the local people practically naked and extremely emaciated from starvation. Seeing their pitiful condition, he left the palanquin and asked Mathur Babu who they were. The people had been suffering from a terrible famine for the past 2 years, and the Master had never seen such misery before. When Mathur Babu explained everything to him, Sri Ramakrishna said that they must be given oil, bathed, clothed, and fed well. Mathur Babu resisted, but Sri Ramakrishna said he would not leave. He would live with them until their misery was relieved. Mathur Babu had no choice but to do what he was told. Come to the heart's black cave and illumine the light of the light. Swami Turiyananda explained, when I went to see Sri Ramakrishna, there were many other visitors. Among them was a great Vedantic scholar. The scholar expounded on Vedanta for more than an hour, and Sri Ramakrishna was very pleased. But after eulogizing the scholar, the Master said, as far as I'm concerned, I do not like all these details. There's nothing but my mother and I. To you, knowledge, knower, and known. The one who meditates, meditation, and the object of meditation. The sort of triple division is very good, but for me, mother and I, that is all, and nothing else. These words, Swami Turiyananda explained, mother and I, were said in such a way that it made a very deep impression on all present. At that moment, all ideas of Vedanta paled into insignificance. The Master's mother and I seemed easier, simpler, and more pleasing to the mind than the 3 divisions of Vedanta. I realized that mother and I was the ideal attitude to be adopted. This was spoken by Turiyananda, the great non-dual Vedantist. So in conclusion, in this hour, we have journeyed into the realm of the Ramakrishna Loka. Through the words of Swami Vivekananda's sacred Arati hymn, Kandana Baba Bandhana, which we shall sing shortly, translated as breaker of this world's chain, and its commentary from the lips of his brother disciples. What clear understanding can we receive than through those spiritual giants who lived in the inner circle of Sri Ramakrishna's divine play on earth? Such is the spiritual dynamism of this hymn. Even though it's composed and sung in Bengali, a non-native language for many followers, the spiritual vibrations of these words, generated by the ecstatic mood these words were composed in, move us, uplift us, and transport us to him every time it is sung. In this song, we can all feel he is present with us. For did Sri Ramakrishna not say, I was in the land of the white people. Their skin is white, their hearts are white, and they are simple and sincere. It is a very beautiful country. I think I shall go there. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.